the Brains Trust, introduced by the question master, answering any question.
3 weeks in, competition well underway, Southland Club Rugby. Fair to say a bit of an intermission this weekend due to the annual Southland pilgrimage of shooting a few ducks. Joined by Eyes, no Bryce this week. He's sunning himself somewhere in Europe, escaping the UK dungeon. That's, well, I guess come out of lockdown. But Eyes, just you and me tonight. We thought we'd just rattle through the results from the weekend. Keep it short and sharp. You watched a bit of footy on the weekend on the portal.
Yeah, I watched the other Premier games. Some pretty good footy being played for some teams, and there was some, I guess, some stuff that probably needs to be fixed up for some teams. But all in all, there's some pretty good performances out there.
Yeah, and some interesting results, which we'll get to later on. But Division 1, couple of, fair to say, upsets there. Interesting results. Throwing a wee spanner in the works, maybe.
Yeah, I almost talked myself into picking Matilda at home, but they got the job done. Almost. I should have stuck with my gut because I figured that'd be pretty handy at home. But I think that was a pretty decent upset there, and that sort of keeps that competition pretty even, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely right. We'll get straight into it. We'll start in the Premier. We'll rattle through the scores and then just go through the games. Obviously, 3 games in Premier. Thursday night, we had a game out at Lime Hill. Star and Midlands took the opportunity to enjoy the long Anzac weekend, and that was played out at Lime Hill. Star taking the win there, too good in the end, 31 points to 13, but flicking through a bit of the footage, Eyes, and you probably watched a bit more than me of this one, but and talking to, I know, Craig Puller, the Star coach, it was definitely probably a little bit closer than the scoreline suggested. Midlands threw a lot at Star, but unfortunately probably at times perhaps played into their hands, playing pretty direct, and like guys like Geordie and Tate eat that up for breakfast, don't they? So was that sort of how it went? You thought it went on?
Yeah, I thought, truthfully, I only watched the first 60 minutes or so, but yeah, it was a pretty even contest. There was just a couple of times where Star scored tries that kind of easy in the context of how difficult the game was being played. I think Jordan Stewart's try might have been the second try, was just like a one-off runner, and he's ran 25 metres and scored. And when you're not making teams work for that, it makes it's a bit demoralising. But Midlands were really good, I thought, and they were pretty expansive at times, getting the balls to the edge. But they probably need to do that a little bit more from what I saw. But I was pretty impressed with them. John O'Hayes back at 10.
Answered the SOEs, John O'Hayes.
And gave them a bit of direction, sort of with his deep kicking game, which was good. And I think, it was good. And I thought, actually the Midlands 10, is it Nick Munro, I think?
Yeah, I actually did see his name on the program the last couple of weeks, so I did have a look at their Barbars game, and I believe it is Nick Munro, who's just fresh out of Southland Boys High School. Actually did go to Lincoln University. I might need to do a little bit of investigation. I'm sure Sam Brain will be able to message through and fill us in on the oil, but I did understand he had gone to Lincoln, but perhaps come back, or maybe they're flying him back.
He's their fourth 10, I think. So, but he looked pretty handy. He's a big boy. I'm not sure if he always plays 10, but he looks sort of more of a second 5 build.
Yeah, traditionally played in the midfield. Played 13 for the Boys High First 15 last year, formerly of Central Southland College before that. Also plays a bit of touch footy. So, yeah, he's definitely got a good skill set and, ability to, I guess, put guys in space and make decisions. So I'm sure they'll be hanging out to get, I'm not too sure what the story is of young Jack Keane, but I'm sure they'll be, they'd like to get him back at some stage.
Yeah, definitely. But no, it was a pretty decent game. The only thing that, not mad, I don't know, but seemed like there's quite a few handling errors. Well, there was quite a few handling errors, and that happens under light. The ball's dewy, and I don't know, boys aren't used to playing under lights. It sometimes sort of ruins the spectacle, but Midlands again giving them pretty good account of themselves. So
yeah, John O'Hayes tells me, caught up with him on Friday, tells me that he couldn't find his kicking day in the grass.
Really?
Yeah, Lime Hills, they're letting that grass really grow. So, yeah, good stuff there, Jono. Welcome back, Jono. I'm sure Star will be very keen to keep
Is
you
he
on.
committed for the season?
Well, he was pretty non-committal when I talked to him, so I'm sure.
That's how it starts, though, isn't it? Really?
Exactly. A lot of guys know how that story rolls. But yeah, good to see Jono back. He can kick a nut, so much to Star's need. Speaking of kicking nuts, Greg Pleasance-Tate, if you saw our Instagram story, put a nice wee touch finder. Just a shame that it was a Star penalty. He's tapped it before he kicked it, so maybe a bit of rule awareness from Tatey. I know.
He had a reason behind it, wasn't it? Something about playing up tempo. But
Tatey loves to play up tempo, like he's all about that. So great stuff. Love your skill set, mate. Right, we'll move on. 2 games on Saturday in the Premier Grade. We'll start down at Appleby. It was Barbars travelling into town, taking on Blues. Barbars coming off their win against Midlands the week before. And the boys did tip Barbars last weekend. Obviously, Jacob Coughlin was on the pod last week, but by geez, I don't think we tipped the scoreline of 42 points to 10 eyes. No. Barbars just forward pack in demolition mode, fair to say.
Yeah, it was. Well, it started off. I think Barbars scored the first try converted, and then Blues, had probably a 10-minute period where they were camping Barbars line. Didn't score from that. They did score a wee bit later off against the run of play, but I think that took a little bit out of them. So it was a pretty even contest, and then probably 5 minutes before halftime, Barbars scored a couple through their forwards. And then just sort of picked up where they left off in the second half. I thought for Barbars, it was actually Tiana boys that stood out. Kane Prentice was really good. Levi Wairau, the 10, Jordan Ma, he was very good.
We put it just quickly on Jordan Ma. We obviously put a couple of videos up on Sunday night, just a bit of highlights, real stuff from the weekend, and we just had to check if he was still alive because. For those who saw our story, Kalipi absolutely cut him into about 10 pieces. So, Geordie, hope your ribs are all good, mate. But definitely had a great game.
He bounced back really well after that. I think kicked 6 from 6 off the tee as well. They were really impressive, and I think they're going to be a pretty difficult team to knock over, especially with that forward pack. Big Albert at 8. Lucy's are really good as well. Yeah. Jacob, obviously. Set piece was good. Actually, I think I'll give Todd Wells a shout out. I think he played his 50th game.
Yeah, I believe he did.
And I think he's moved into the 6th this year.
Yeah, he has. He looks like he's had a bit of an off season in the gym, maybe in Gore, but he looks like he's piled on a couple of kegs because he doesn't look out of place in that 6th jump. Obviously, a wiry, I guess, meat and spuds 12 in previous years, but he's definitely rolled. Looks like he's rolled the sleeves up and chucked a couple of clicks on, moved himself into the back row. So it's good to see. He's a quality Premier club player down here. So good work, Todd.
It was a really good effort from Barbars. And for Blues, Oscar, I thought was really good. He tried all day, and he was involved, but in both their tries, he was pretty heavily involved in. I'd say to Brad Koeman as well when he got his opportunity. I'll give a shout out to Sam Hartman.
Yeah, the first finish, that was 10 out of 10.
But he also made 3 try-saving tackles just off 5-metre scrums in about a 10-minute period just before half-time. So I'll give him a rap. Nice. I haven't given any forwards any raps, so I can't.
Tough day for Blues.
They actually competed pretty well at scrum time, but as the game we were on, sort of Barbars, I guess, away from territory more so than anything, sort of. But
huge win for the Barbars. And I think more than anything, it's probably going to give them a lot of confidence. I know they were a little bit, I guess, they knew what the draw was when it came out, but obviously they have a week off and then they have the bye next week. So I guess the key for them will be to try and keep that momentum, even though they got a 3-week break. So great work from the Barbars. Right, we'll go to the third game of Premier. It was played at Surrey Park. Pirates Old Boys took on Marist. Oz, you were started this one. Had to leave the field before half time, but I guess from a Marist point of view, pretty disappointing. I guess we could pull the injury card in that, but it was definitely POB fronted with some great intensity. Pretty even early on, fair to say. Pirates Old Boys scoring first. We penalty for Marist, made it 5-3 for most of that first half, and then 5-minute patch before half time, Pirates Old Boys have scored 2 quick tries to go 19-3 at the break. They actually scored straight after half time as well, so 26-3. Mara staring down the barrel, but fair to say, I guess from that 45 to 70 minute mark, Maris probably dominated proceedings and probably did blow, I guess, a couple of opportunities. Scored 2 tries to make it 26-15, but Pirates Old Boys well and truly finishing with a wet sail. 2 tries in the last few minutes to make it 38-15, so pretty comprehensive from their point of view. 5 points for them, 3 wins from 3. Sitting pretty. Obviously, you were involved in the first 30 odd, spent the rest of the game on the sideline, but I guess POB pretty dominant, especially in that loose forward component. They were pretty good around that area.
Yeah, I thought they were really good, and it was actually probably the best I've seen Pirates Old Boys play in a few years. Even when they beat us in the past, it's been a little bit, a bit clunkier than that. But they were really good. They had a lot of ball, but they actually did quite a bit with it, and they were retaining a lot of that quality ball and made it. I'd say in that first half, we would have made double the tackles that they did, and that's a reflection on how well they controlled the ball and how, I guess, Maris, we just didn't respect it probably enough a little bit at times. So, but they thoroughly deserved to win. It shows a good side when they scored just before halftime. They scored, as you mentioned, 2 tries, and that try just after halftime makes the comeback even more difficult. So they definitely deserved it. And it was good to see our team actually, we could take something out of it with that 25-minute period, but against a quality side, you can't just play 25 minutes and expect to come away with a result. So, Pirates Old Boys definitely deserved that win, and they good players across the field, to be fair.
I guess for POB, like we touched on, I thought Josh Harwood at hooker had a pretty strong game, and their loose forward trio, I thought Dustin Coveney, I thought he was really, really busy, and obviously Hoosman and Keane in the old guard in the trio, and as well as Hayden Haggerty, I thought he was pretty strong for them as well. Obviously GD ran the cutter, and their backs all had their moments. So
I don't know if they didn't have too many bad players on Saturday. They were
No, so big win for them. They'll take a lot of confidence in it. I know they got Woodlands after duck shooting, so it'll be a very interesting game. Woodlands obviously had the bye. I know they do
points to the bye.
Yeah, so that was
points from a bye.
That's a bloody good question, I'm not entirely sure. We'll get on to Dermot Hughes, Rugby South and REO on that one, but I believe that it was ratified at the RSAC meeting, which is the Rugby Southland Advisory Council, after the first round of play, I believe. So it was going to be 0, but I believe they made the decision to give everyone 5. So I couldn't lose
ground, essentially. Like, you're not losing ground, but it doesn't matter at the end of the day, does it?
Yeah, no. If everyone gets 0, I would have thought it doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't. You give everyone 100 points, it doesn't matter.
But anyway, everyone's got 5, so 5 points in the bank for Woodlands. Fair to say they will have a little bit of firepower next time they take the field. Matt Funga, who has returned. He's going to be arriving in Southland next week. Made the move down from Otago. He'll be pulling on a Stags jumper at some stage later in the season as well. And Caleb Upatahama, big lock out of Canterbury, as we probably previewed in our Brain Trust preview a few weeks back. He's making the trip down next week, so I guess Woodland's a little bit more to roll out. Also, they may have Kafu Masiwata, their hooker, back. He had a bit of a neck injury suffered in the first game, so he might be back. And also, Smokey that's come out in the last few days. They didn't expect to have him, I understand, but Charles Aloi Marlow is en route back to New Zealand. Obviously, it's been playing for Zebra. Will do is two weeks in MIQ, but
has their competition ceased, or is?
I believe they might have finished. They usually finish around this time, so I'm not too 100% sure.
Very handy pickup for. Woodlands.
Well, yeah. So I'm sure they'll have him back. Probably not for another 3 or 4 weeks, but they will have him back a bit earlier than expected. So I guess in terms of Woodlands, a couple of guys starting to come back into the fray. So good news for them. Right, we'll go to Division 1. We'll just rattle through those scores, and then we might have a bit of a yarn. So We'll start up at Tianao. Tianao couldn't make it 2 wins at home. I guess in terms of boilovers, this was probably one of the bigger ones in Division 1. Collegiate, well done, Collegiate. Went up to Fiordland, got the job done, 28 points to 19. So I guess in terms of that Division 1 eyes, the bottom team going down to Division 2, I guess that win for Collegiate's pretty huge in terms of them, I guess, having a pretty good shot at staying in that Gerald Dermody competition. So well done, Collegiate, on that one. Head over to Waikaka, who celebrated their 120th. Did you just quickly on their eyes, did you see their jerseys, commemorative jerseys that they wore?
I did see them.
Rate them?
Yeah, I didn't mind them at all. I'm a big fan of those with the cords going through like that old school sort of jumper. Yeah, big fan.
Yeah, plenty of cords going on there, and there was also plenty of tries. 45 points to 3, pretty comfortable over the Waikiwi lads. Probably a tough couple of weeks for the Waikiwi lads' eyes on the field. On the field, I do understand though that they also got well beaten off the field. I did get a message from former Barbars Centurion Lockie McCall, who actually did message me on Saturday just to make sure that we knew that Waikiwi did lose the boat race by a person and a half.
Yeah, I did hear they had additional. Well, was it an additional person the Waikaka's way? Is that? I thought it was the other way, that Waikiwi were carrying an extra.
Oh, okay. All I've got here is Waikiwi lost the boat race by a person and a half. So I'm assuming it was just.
Well, yeah, okay. Yeah, okay, that makes a bit of sense.
Yeah. So no, well done, Lockie. You're obviously a great performer off the field as well as on it. So I'm sure there would have been a big night at the Waikaka Club Room celebrating the 120. Great start to the season for them after that tight first up loss down at Wyndham. We'll go to Mosburn. They took on Riversdale. This was a tight one, really tight. Riversdale on the road got the job done, 26-23. So fair to say, as your Mozzie boys just not quite winning those tight battles so far in 2021.
I have noticed Riversdale have been, well, they've, fuck, I say this right, but a lot of teams in Div 1 seem to perform a lot better at home, which is sort of Captain Obvious. But I think Mosman would be a bit disappointed not to win that. I haven't heard any reports of the game, but to get that close,
that'd be
not heartbreaking. I
guess we talked about Mosburn. They obviously sounds like they're pretty comfy being in that Gerald Dermody space. So we'd heard, but I guess the danger for them is I know they do have Waikiwi and Albion to play. I'm sure they'd like their chances there, but you drop one to Albion or Waikiwi, then they, I guess they really don't want to be floating that relegation to Division 2. I'm sure that's not where they want to be. No. So I'm sure they'll be looking to make sure they can get a W on the board. So that was Pool A. We'll go over to Pool B, which is an Eastern Southland sort of pool there. Edendale, no Bram Fody, no problems.
How long is he suspended for? Do you know, Scott? Is it just the mandatory?
I believe it's the mandatory 3. I might be wrong on that. I believe 3, but I might have to go back and check my source on that. But so that's one game down. But no worries for Edendale. Devon McLeod did slot in at 10. We called it last week on the show. He slotted in the 10 jumper according to their team sheet. 45-17. I guess from a Pioneer perspective, they'd be probably a little bit disappointed with that.
You'd think if it was a weekend to potentially get Edendale as a team that's maybe not quite normally at their level, it would have been this week. So that scoreline would probably disappoint Pioneer a little bit. But that just shows how good. Well, the Edendale not a one-man team. They actually, Devon stepping in there is a more than capable replacement. So they'll be happy with that result.
No, well played, Edendale. Right, we'll go over to Wyndham down the road, 2 minutes down the road. They took on Albion, and obviously Wyndham's footage on the portal. Great to see Wyndham videoing their games and getting a part of that. So 76 points to 3. Some pretty nice tries running by the Wyndham boys. Tough day for the Albion lads. Chasing Tama Ward. Geez, Tama Ward was turning it on at times, scoring them or setting them up down that left edge. But and great to see the Zinzan Brook. We did post it on the gram, the double scissors off the midfield scrum. So well played, Wyndham. I actually was texting Jimmy Sinclair earlier in the week, and I sort of asked him if that was his brainchild, and his reply was pretty much, "Fuck, mate. Do you think I could come up with that?" So Classic Jimmy style. So whoever came up with that one for Wyndham, well played. Good to see that one. Haven't seen that one pulled out for a while, but worked to great effect. Wyndham boys on fire.
Yeah, they're going to be tough. They're going to be very tough to beat going forward in this competition, it seems. So, it's a bit of a shame the scoreline's that big, but fuck, that's rugby.
So it's a tough day at the office for Albion. I guess they're probably in that danger zone, you call it. I guess the bottom team going down to Div 2.
They beat Collegiate, did they not?
They did too. That's why I guess that Collegiate win over TR now could become quite important for Collegiate. I'm not quite sure if they got a bonus point, but that could be crucial in the scheme of things. Well, we'll go to the last. Sorry, Oz, what was that, mate?
No, that's fine.
Oh yeah, right. We'll go to the last game in Division 1 Pool B. Matoda took on Tokanui. We tipped that this was going to be a tight tussle at Matoda. Always tough place to win for visiting sides. And Tokanui raced out to a bit of an early lead. I understand Matoda 2 in the bin, but Matoda came back. Great win, 28-22 over a pretty good Tokanui side. So by all accounts, this was a pretty good game of footy.
Yeah, this is probably game of the round in Div 1. So told her to get up. That's pretty good effort. This will be Tokanui's first loss in a wee while, even dating back to last year.
Yeah.
Imagine. So it would have taken a pretty decent effort from the home
especially
side.
coming from behind.
Yeah, what was it, 22?
I believe it was 22-7 or something along those lines. I probably got that wrong, but
I think I feel like that was messaged into us. So
yeah, it was messaged in. Thanks for lad that sent that in. But it sounds like it was an absolute cracker. So I guess two teams who are, Matoda coming back after being out last year and Tokanui stepping up from Gil Dermody. Both teams, I guess, trying to have a crack at that ex-Sopa. So it's good to see that they are. There's not much between those teams, and it will be good to see. I think Matoda and Tokanui take on the likes of Wyndham and Edendale. Then I guess we'll really see where they're at in terms of, I guess, that level. Wyndham obviously looking like the benchmark.
That's where you're going to get a gauge, obviously, on where all these teams really do sit. So, but that after that loss to Tiana the week before, that sort of gets that Matoda's season back on track, which is pretty good from their point of view. Yeah,
absolutely. Right, we'll just 20-second rattle through the Division 2 scores. 99-0 out at Drummond. DLS, well done on your 100th. Couldn't quite crack the 100 though. 99-0. So a bit of a bath there. Very tough start for the Bush Pirates lads. Hopefully they can hang in there for the next few weeks. But not a great start to the season for them. Bluff 25-0 over Ohio Tautau. Good win for the Bluff lads on the road. Balfour 29-15 over YL Star out at Balfour. Good win there for the Balfour boys. Division 2 Pool B. Marist B, another one for Marist B. 3 from 3, 10 points to 0. Pretty tough conditions at Surrey Park, that one. Wakatipu Wanderers. This is probably one of the more bigger upsets, I would guess.
Yeah.
39-5 over Blues B. Down at Blues, fair to say, the Wanderers did struggle last year and had struggled early in this competition, but that's probably a huge confidence boost for them, knocking over Blues B like that.
Especially away.
That's huge.
It makes for pretty long
trips. I reckon they enjoyed the trip home, eh?
Oh, you fucking hope so.
39-5, so well done to Wanderers. And in the other game that was played on Friday night, we had Riverton 24-15 over Woodlands B. A couple of women's games this week. Blues took on Albion on Tuesday night, 51 points to 10 out at Gore. And actually game that just took place on Thursday night tonight, Marist 41-10 over Pioneers. So a few results there. Fair to say, as we're starting to see, I guess those points tables are starting to sort of take shape somewhat.
Yeah, absolutely. You sort of need a good month of footy to really start to see common trends, I guess. And some grades there aren't common trends because some of them are just corn flip every week. But the top teams start to emerge around this time.
Absolutely. I know there's been a little bit of confusion around the Division 1, Division 2 points tables. I know Dermot's been copping a few messages. So, I'm sure people can look at the table and sort of work it out. Obviously, there's there's a couple of crossover games that took place, so a little bit of mathematics. But those top teams, Wyndham and Edendale, especially in Pool B, looking pretty good, along with Waikaka and Riversdale. Right, that wraps up our review. Obviously, no footy this week. We thought we'd just finish, couple of wee things to finish, couple of wee topics. Early days, but we thought we'd have a crack at naming a pre-duck shooting Premier Form 15. So we've had a crack at that. We'll chuck it up on the gram as well. But the lads have gone for, we'll just rattle through it. Number 1, Kane Prentice, Barbars. Hooker, Josh Harwood, POB. Tight head, Chris Barrett, Woodlands. Locks, Joe Robbins, Midlands. Craig Smith, POB. 6, Dustin Coveney, POB. 7, Jacob Coughlin, Barbars. 8, Liam Udi Johns, Marist. 9, Levi Wairau, Barbars. 10, Greg Dyer, Pob. Keanu Kahukura on the left wing from Marist. Micaiah Johnson Brown, Star, at 12. Will Murray at 13, Marist. He's been on fire, start 2021. Kieran Lee, who's been playing fullback, but we'll chuck him on the right wing. From Woodies, and Brad Cooman, Blues. Bit of a mix there, eyes. We've tried to show a bit of love to all the Premier clubs, but I guess some of those guys have really stood out. One or two in particular that have really impressed you so far in 2021.
Yeah, there's a few. Obviously, teams that we've actually played against makes it you're always a little bit biased, but I thought Dustin Coveney, as you mentioned earlier, was really good, and what I've seen on tape, he is good. Kane Prentice as well. I think he's been impressive. I haven't seen him play in person yet, but the games I have watched on TV, he's been right in everything and seems to be scrummaging really well. So, but it seems a few usual names. But there are enough new names. I'm sure people will have,
their opinion.
I guess, their own ideas on certain selections, but I think it's a pretty fair team, to be fair.
Yeah, mate. Right. First topic. Second topic, we thought we'd have a quick, brief discussion. Obviously, in the Southland Times yesterday, a lot of people would have read it. We chucked it on our story, just an article around Dale Steeves, Coach McLeod. A few concerns around, obviously, lack of front rowers. Around the province, obviously, a couple of games. I know from Marist perspective, unfortunately, have had to go to Golden Oldies. And no, it's not a conspiracy theory. We're not resting players and we're not leaving props on the sideline. It's unfortunate that we only have 2 props that can front up, or that have been able to front up. I know from our point of view, we had to call in Casey Cumming, who did a fantastic job for us last weekend. Awesome. Shout out to Casey, and played for 5 or so years, game of footy, and we had to go the whole lady. So that's great stuff from him. And without him, to be fair, we were staring down the barrel of default. So I know POB, they've been battling away as well, and a couple of those other teams are probably a bit light on the ground. Also, I guess the thing to come out of it, Dale obviously talking about, clubs needing to, put together opportunities and proactive. But I would probably counter that and say that clubs probably already are doing that. As such, and there actually are a couple to half a dozen people within each club that are actually already going about trying to recruit players and that sort of thing. I guess one thing that does make it a lot tougher that we did touch on in the earlier pods is around the closed borders. I know the Australian bubble's just open, but in the past teams have probably relied on guys coming in from overseas to fill those holes, especially in that propping stock. So I think that's probably has a part to play. I also think it's just a reflection of, I guess, the way things are going in terms of more and more guys aren't really being able to commit to that, what's required to play at that Premier level, especially in the front row.
Yeah, the front row is
what's
key
required. And like we mentioned last week, like that drop off between your top end, where you got your guys like your Joe Walshes or your Nikos, I guess in a younger case, but you're putting them against guys who are, just filling a hole.
Can become dangerous at a point in that case. Guys coming up from Division 2 to play against guys like that.
Yeah. And really, like, guys aren't really getting anything out of that either. Like Dale mentioned, it was around, guys aren't getting what they need from scrums, and obviously that flows back to the locks and the loose forwards in terms of if it's Golden Oldies. Not sure what the fix is. I personally think there's a lot more, like the props issue is actually just a reflection of a lot of other issues that are going on in our Premier game. I know, talking to a couple other boys at different clubs, that trying to get guys to training is a real issue. Like not through guys as such not wanting to come to training. It's more guys. A lot of guys work shift work. A lot of guys have got young families, and there's that risk of getting injured. They got to work. A lot of guys now, the missus works full time, so they got to look after the kids. Yeah. There's a lot of different things going on. I think, Premier Rugby. I do think we really need to look at the bigger picture in terms of, we obviously looked at you was 6 teams for a long time, and we did expand. We went to obviously 12 for that year, then back down to 8, now 7. I guess is going up in terms of teams the right answer? I'm not too sure. I think now that we've gone 6, we've sort of settled on this lesser game season, shorter season. I actually think 6 teams actually could work. Thoughts, Oz? Any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I do think when you're widening that gap between, say, if it went back to a 12-team competition of these guys, like this Stags props, for instance, propping against guys who aren't up to that spec, is it doing those guys' development any good? Whereas I know if you keep the competition tight like that, 6, and believe me, I'd much rather have a bigger competition.
Yeah.
Like ideally for me would be 8 teams, 2 round robins, and then that's and then semis and finals or whatever. But for that point of view, and for possibly the good of the Stags, it might be the case of those smaller competitions better for those teams' development. I don't really have an answer, because I'm just looking at it from a Marist point of view when you talk about being proactive. So we say, I know in the article Dale talked about being proactive in October, right? So we lost 3 of our front rowers. What? Shit, I don't know.
Within 3 weeks.
Yeah, basically. And we've got a 4th one who's still playing, who's playing on a leg that he's not 100.
Really shouldn't be playing. Yeah, Big Siaki's doing a hell of a job on a massive infection.
In fact, I took my cap to that, but it's like you can't prepare for that, something like that. And we're not an organisation, and clubs aren't an organisation where you can just go, right, we're down, da-da-da, especially with, as you mentioned, the borders. Can't just go, like, talk to someone, just go, hey, we need this, we need a guy here, and here, because the pool has shrunk.
Yeah. And I guess the other part is, like, if you say, right, we got 4 props, as Maris said again as an example, we had 4 props at the start of the season. Within 3 weeks, we're down to 1, or not even 1 at some point.
Yeah.
How many props can you have sitting in the stable? I guess that's the other part of it. Like, obviously there's a B team, and I guess different clubs, it's different around the capability of those guys, and then the other part of it is, do those guys actually want to come up? And
that's the other part.
And you can't actually force a player to come up. If that player genuinely doesn't want to play Premier Rugby and they're not interested. Yeah.
Fuck that if I wasn't committed to say, I'm keen to go scrum against, Chris Upper or whatever. Like, fuck, think of better things to do on a Saturday and do that. You know what I mean? So it's,
absolutely. So I think it's a pretty complex issue.
Yeah, and I think this is a nationwide thing. I saw something on Instagram of club footy and Premier Club footy in Wellington without in Golden Oldie. So it's not just Southland issue, but it's magnified a little bit down here because it is a little bit smaller.
Yeah. And we don't have a Colts grade. We don't have, other grades.
That's it. Yeah. But I understand Dale not being overly happy with it because fuck, it doesn't help his props developments. But fuck, it's just the way it is, unfortunately.
No.
And it's the way it's going, to be honest. I think.
I know he did say. Siati. Obviously, if we lost Siati, we'd be in real trouble. I guess if we did lose Siati, then we would be in huge strife at this point. So if there's any, I'm sure Dale will be on the hunt for a couple of tighty props. But Morgie Mitchell, if you're doing nothing in Japan, listen to the Brains Trust, mate. I'm sure you'll be welcome back at HQ. So Morgie, man, get back on the plane, brother. Yeah, I think that'll do us, eyes. You go and enjoy those ducks, mate. Hopefully you can hit a few. Enjoy the tri-stars. Enjoy your shooting, people. If you're listening to this during a bit of a shoot, then shoot and drink responsibly, of course. And we look forward to getting back on board next week. Hopefully Bryce is back from sunning himself somewhere in Europe, and we'll rip into week 4 of the Southland Club footy. Cheers, guys.
Go well, man.